Hello, and welcome to the Original True Parents Family Ministry. Um, I'm going to do a video here where I respond to Reverend Dunkley's video. It's about 27 minutes long, and it's a talk where he engaged with many members, especially second generation. Well, that's who they're exclusively targeting. And I'm going to critique what he says. If he says something that's very principled and good, I'll praise it. If he says something that's along the lines of the current slander against your father, I'll critique it and point out where I think he's going wrong. Just a note, the reason, a reminder, the reason why I called the group I set up on Facebook and YouTube channel Original True Parents Family Ministry, it's not Original True Parents Family Ministry, as in a ministry for families. Is Original True Parents Family Ministry. And the aspect be the idea being that it's God's lineage that is our salvation. It's father and mother, true father and true children, and all the blessed children that marry true children, and all the blessed children, and all the first generation that support that who are engrafted. It's God's lineage, God's family, which is our ministry, which is how we're going to engraft the whole world away from Satan's lineage onto God's lineage to save the world. So that's the reason for the phrasing original true parents family ministry. And yeah, as I said before, it's not a church, it's not a new organization, it's not a schism, um, it's not a cult. In our church history, in the 40 years of my life in our church, I've seen many cults rise up within our church. People who believe they've got some special spirit, or they're occupied by some other spirit, or they're the new Messiah, not true Father. And currently, there's a new cult in our church, which is our church. It's the church of fathers failed John the Baptist type figure and a sinner, and mother's the female deity who's the Messiah. So that's the cult. So what original True Parents Family Ministry is not a cult. It's not a schism. It's an order. Sorry, just like the Franciscans or Jesuits, an order within a faith. So it's within the faith, but it's with a special focus. And the special focus of original True Parents Family Ministry is to protect Father's legacy, to protect our faith, and to remind, to go back before this apostate age, go back to what our faith was and still is and always will be. And so, with that, I'm going to play this video with Reverend Dunkley, and I'm going to comment on the things he said. So let's start that, shall we?
About those who are stuck in the completed Testament age.
Okay, he's not getting off to a great start. Using a phrase like "stuck" is really like a negative framing of people who are retaining their original faith, right? When the communists came and they went to Russia and Romania and China, and if they told Christians, "Oh, you're stuck in Christianity," just using the word "stuck" doesn't imply that you're right and that person's stuck in something. Um, Retaining and not giving up your faith is not being stuck.
So listen, I don't doubt everyone on this call, and so many across the world, so many across the country, the price that we have paid to give everything to this movement is a considerable thing. This isn't a church. Sorry, second generation, for those of you still confused about that. This is not a church. Normally, if you join a church, it's like, you're joining a community, you show up on Sunday, maybe you give a little tithe, you join the.
So let's address this a little bit. So I'm not fond of the way he says you give a little tithe, right? I know people who've been in this movement for decades, 40, 50 years, some even more, and they've tithed every week, and they don't make a great deal of money. So giving 10% of their income to the faith, to the church, is a big deal, especially when it goes on so long. And it's not just that they tithe. You all know, especially if you're second gen, you grew up in families that were constantly having your resources drained away by the incessant calls for donations. So it wasn't just a little tithe, it was tithing. On top of that, constant donations. A new condition, or that's can every family give $70 or $120 here or there? That's a bicycle the children couldn't have. It's maybe braces that the children couldn't have at the dentist. It's maybe maybe a vacation they couldn't take. It was constant drain and sacrifice. And the church has had the culture of not really existing according to divine principle, because the people who give the donations voluntarily from their heart, well, when it's requested, they are the subjects and they're giving love. And the object is whatever thing it is that needs the money to, to, to work, usually within the providence. And the idea in divine principle is the subject gives love and the object returns beauty. And we think of the object returning beauty as just something nice to have. Oh, it's nice to see some beauty. It's not just nice, it's integral to the structure of how things work. It's ontologically important because when the subject gives love, they deplete themselves, just like God did on the sixth day of creation. And when God saw that it was good, he rested and he re-energized. So when people give a donation, if they can see the work that donation is doing and they're inspired by it, they get re-energized. But there's a phrase I came up with called the black hole of providential need. And that is in our faith movement, there's always a need for constant donations. And it's never ending. It never seems to solve the problem that's caused the requirement for the donation. And if people donate to their local church, and let's say, for example, they don't have a Sunday school, and so they think, well, we've got a bit of land next to the church building. Why don't we save up money for a year or maybe 2 years or more? And then when we're ready, we can build the Sunday school next to our church. And then the kids can have a place and volunteers can teach them about God and the Bible and divine principle and about true parents. And they can grow in their faith by going to Sunday school. So the parents all sacrifice and donate that money, and it's a real stress for them. But they see the Sunday school after it's completed, and the kids coming home with the pictures and telling the stories what they did in Sunday school, and coming to the altar and giving a little testimony about their activities. And the parents just feel full of love and pride because beauty returned to them. And so they forget about any sacrifice they had. They don't feel depleted by it. They feel like their cup's running over because the beauty regenerates the energy that the subject gave as love, or in this case, as money. But often in our movement, it's just become a habit. Oh well, there's a new announcement, there's a new condition. Can every family give $70 or $120? And it reached a point where I would see notifications on the notice board at the church in London HQ, and there's no mention at all about what the cause is. It's just, can you give a donation? And they just completely disinterested in enabling the return of beauty because they won't even bother telling people what the donations for now. It's just donations for donation's sake, just a culture of donations. And any donation should always there should always be a clear explanation about what that's for. So I don't think it's a good idea to use the phrase a little tithe here or there. Most members I know have just sacrificed a huge amount on top of tithing, and even tithings by themselves are something significant. Okay, let's continue.
The soup, you volunteer at the soup kitchen, or you do this and that. That is very one small aspect of what we do, and it's very important, especially with regard to creating environment in community and serving the greater community. And what have I been saying for the last year? There's nothing worth fighting for that doesn't include your family. And frankly, there's nothing worth fighting for that doesn't include your local community and the town in which your community sits.
Okay, credit where it's due. I actually like those words. Fathers often said individual, family, society, nation, world. And again, our church has often not really practiced that because we have the purpose of the individual, the purpose of the whole. But our faith has often pushed individuals and families to just sacrifice for the whole. And there hasn't been that much interest in nurturing the individual or the family. Things are changing a little bit now, but so it's nice to see the recognition of that.
So we need to have, it needs to be substantive, but we are far more than a church. We are a movement trusted by God to lead the way. And what's our job? Our job is actually inviting everybody to the banquet table and not
Okay, that's a great point being made. But let's see what he says next.
blocking the doorway with our own ignorance.
Okay, now we've got a double-edged sword there. So when he says inviting people to the banquet, he's referring to the wedding banquet of the bridegroom, who is true father. Uh, and our inviting them is, we are not the best people that God could have used, maybe, to surround the Messiah, or to be the vanguard for God's lineage growing on earth, but we're all God's got. And so it's our responsibility and our joy to basically reach out to all the people of the world who are in Satan's lineage, even though, it's kind of tough sometimes because they have better standards than we do. But nevertheless, they're in Satan's lineage, and we have to reach out to them and teach them about true parents and God's lineage so that they can leave that lineage and engraft to true parents and to God. And so that's the banquet that we've partaken in, and we have a responsibility and a joy to help support. But here, Reverend Dunkley then says we shouldn't be detrimental to that task by our ignorance. And I think we know what ignorance he's talking about. He's not talking about our ignorance of divine principle, our ignorance of debate tactics, our ignorance of witnessing tactics. He's talking about our ignorance of the new fake theology that's coming from Korea and from True Mother and through all these, frankly, these traitorous FFWP leaders who have turned their back on Father and are happy to preach that Father is a sinner and a fallen person. Well, he isn't. Father is perfect. He has never sinned, and he could not and would not sin. And true Father is the Messiah and the true parent and true Father. And without true Father, there would have been no true parents. Father's not fungible; you can't swap him out. And so this ignorance they want you to think that you might have a problem with is your ignorance of their lies. But rejecting lies is not ignorance. Sticking to your faith is not ignorance. Let's continue.
Mother's especially concerned about any of you who might still be stuck in the completed Testament age. Now listen to me carefully.
Okay, there you go. There's that phrase again. Stuck in the completed Testament age. It's not stuck to maintain your faith.
When I was in Korea, it was just before Dr. Jin Chun Kim's lectures in 2020. Was it 21?
22.
22, April 2021.
Yeah.
And on April 17 was the unveiling of the obelisk. Remember, Dr. Jenkins, the obelisk?
Yes. Yes.
It was a beautiful day, little chilly, but Mother addressed us in a very unique way. At that time, I already knew the content of, what we now call Champu Moron. Champu Moron is the way that it's been presented, but really it's what Mother's been trying to say.
And by the way, the Ron part at the end of Champaron means discourse, a discussion of. But we all know if there's any discourse other than yes, I agree, any challenges to it, you're basically excommunicated. So the Ron part is just a fake.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that was the day that Mother was talking about God leaving true parents by the bank of the river where they might fall in, and all he could do was keep an eye on them, but could not stop them from falling in the river if that might, it's like Mother was talking in a way, and she was preparing us for these lectures. But then she took us to lunch in the stadium, and her first words were what? Her first words were, "You love true parents, don't you? And you especially love true father, don't you?"
Okay, I'm very happy to hear Mother said that. Unfortunately, it's the kind of thing that is said to play on noble aspects of your personality in order to then introduce some nefarious ideas.
Now, I shared these words with you if you came to the Rebirth Workshop. And if you come to the Rebirth Workshop? But I never shared with you all the words she said. This was to all the leaders in the stadium. She said, "You love true father, don't you? Then please help me liberate him." Please make it such that Satan and no one on this earth can lay claim to an accusation upon him.
Well, there you have it. So they lead in with, you love true Father, don't you? And you want to protect true Father, don't you? And so you now have to accept these lies I'm going to tell. Otherwise, you're a person who doesn't love true Father and doesn't want to protect him. And if there's nobody on earth who can have an accusation against true Father, why are they all teaching that Mother, who is on earth, is claiming that Father is a sinner, that he was born with original sin, but she wasn't born with original sin, that he's not perfect, he didn't teach her divine principles, she knew it herself, that he was sent to Hangnam as punishment for marrying some other people before he met true Mother. So it seems to me, sorry to say it, but the accusation is not coming from Satan, it's coming from true Mother and from these traitor leaders of the FFWPU.
What does that mean, Dr. Sullivan? And the tone with which she said it, and I want you to get into this heart space with me now. I sat.
Okay, now this is why I use the phrase snake oil when I replied to a friend of mine in the movement posted a video of Reverend Dunkley talking about some things, and I just wrote snake oil. You know, sometimes when you're online and it's just text, you can get a little bit spicy sometimes. And then Reverend Dunkley, who I didn't really know was aware of me, but I guess because some of these videos that I'm making have been seen by up to 3,000 people, I guess I'm on his radar, and so he must have watched them because he came in and said, thought you were positioning yourself as respectful. And well, first of all, I didn't even like the phrase positioning because it sounds so political and calculated. I just happen to believe that we have to love True Mother despite her apostasy and her stumbles. That's not a positioning, that's just my faith. And so I replied to him, respectful to people, disdainful to lies. And here we have Reverend Dunkley telling you to get into a heart space before he's even told you what seed is going to be planted in there. That's not the way it should work. The way it should work is if there's new ideas, new concepts, then tell people the concepts. Let them process them logically and see if they align with divine principle and true Father's teaching and true Father's example. Let them process intellectually. Do those concepts make sense? If they do, then you engage with them in study and prayer, and then you lay them up, as Christians say, lay them up in your heart, and then those concepts become part of your emotional approach to life. What you don't do is exhort people to prepare get into the heart space and get into a space where you're already, oh yeah, this is so true, I'm so moved by it, before you've even heard the ideas. Yeah, I'm not really fond of that approach.
There eating my dessert. You'll remember she told everybody, eat your dessert, because it was made by a special chef from France. And I was about to leave the dessert, but she said, everybody eat your dessert. So I was eating my dessert. She was speaking. And she said, what she was saying with her tone was, you are my children and I need you. Please help me. Please help Father.
Okay. In an isolated way, I love that. I love it if God and true Father and true Mother say things like that. You're my children. What a beautiful thing to say. I need you. Please help, right? Instead of being like the God, King, and Queen on the mountain who's just unassailable, it's nice to see God and our true parents vulnerable and needing us. It moves us and it inspires us to want to help as well. But unfortunately, what that nature of that requested help is going to be isn't going to be to our liking, I think.
It was already in 2021. I was in the room when Mother slumped in her chair, and Tomiko-san, she said, I've come to the point of losing all hope in the second generation. This does not mean you, Denthu. She was referring to the true children. You understand what I mean, Leslie? She was referring to the true children. And you were there, Dr. Jenkins. She was talking about all the 36 best couples. She was talking about how we screwed up. We didn't make the right environment from the very beginning for our youth. And so she's so grateful to any blessed child that is still here in the game. She's so grateful because she recognizes that almost none of you had correct education. None of you, and when she says education, she also includes the environment in that term. So she was lamenting as early as 2021 that there was no pathway forward for the second generation realm of her family to take leadership. And it was pitiful to see. But by 2022, as I was sitting there on the long banquet table, I was just at the edge, right? I was eating my dessert.
Okay, I have to say that the first part I agree with. I'm always shocked when I talk to some second generation and they're just not that familiar with the Bible or even divine principle. I think a lot of families just sent them to a lot of workshops, and I wondered, well, what are they doing in the workshops? And it seems to me that the main purpose of the workshops is so that the second generation can bond with each other. They grow up in different parts of the country or even other countries, so they can bond with each other and then later figure out who they want to marry. And the family's main concern seems to have been that second generation won't marry each other, they'll marry somebody from the secular world. And not much emphasis was placed on true ownership of our faith. In terms of studying divine principles, it's not really until they go to Dunn or go to STF and do some fundraising and witnessing that they really start to come to understand our theology. But the 10 or 15 years, first 10 or 15 years of their life seems to have been neglected. In that sense, that's true. And regarding true parents' children, I'm sorry to say it, but isn't it parents' primary responsibility to guide the education of their children? So if true children don't have the right education and they're not prepared for the movement, then is it the leaders and the church members' fault, or is it their own parents' fault?
As a good filial son. And I was listening to what Mother was telling us, Dr. Jenkins. She wasn't just telling us to get ready for a workshop. She was asking me, Demian, Tomiko, Susan, Larry, Raymond, Michael, David, Barry, Barbara, Gloria, Alan, Landon, Hans, please become a true child. She was not asking us, Dr. Jenkins, just to learn a new theology. Do you all understand this? Young leaders, do you understand this? Everybody's caught up in whether you understand Champu Moran, or whether you accept Champu Moran, or whether you really accept what Mother's saying, or how do I get my head around Holy Mother Han? Don't be caught by your own cleverness from the completed Testament age. Be careful.
Okay, well, I've heard that kind of reasoning before. Oh, you're just being clever. There was a there was a leader in the north of England who messaged me complaining that I'm theological or that I'm clever when I offered some objections to this new apostate theology, as if being clever and as if taking a philosophical or theological view is somehow bad. Well, it is bad from the point of view of leaders who just want you to switch off your brain.
She's not asking us just to learn something new, Larry, and accept her version of something. She's actually asking us to complete the providence with her. I'm not talking about making a donation and showing up for the entrance ceremony. much more important even than the marble and the dollars and the great lectures is you, your spirit, your soul, your substance, your mind, your heart, your conviction, your unity, your attendance to Mother. There's nothing greater than your attendance to Mother. There was not 1 minute of one day where one soul attended Jesus as the only begotten Son while he was alive. Not one. Even those who knew who he was denied him. That means they didn't know who he was. Mother was not asking us just to learn a new truth. When Mother spoke to me and the other 600 leaders in that stadium, what she was telling me was, my child, please come and sit with me. Please come and sit with me on the bed with your father and mother. There's something we need to tell you.
Actually, what Mother's asking us to do is unlearn an existing truth, which is divine principle, and that true Father is sinless and he's the perfect Messiah. Unlearn that, and then learn a new lie, not a truth. And the reason why Reverend Dunkley is explaining about how Mother's asking us to engraft to her, right? It's basically saying, well, you didn't love us before, but I want you to engraft to me, is because our church from the inside out has been transformed into a female deity cult. Who would you have ever thought in the last 20 or 30 years that True Mother would abandon the term True Mother and True Parents and instead pivot to her previous name, family name before she was married? I know in Korean culture, Korean women keep their family name when they get married. So if a Han marries a Mr. Moon, then she continues to call herself Mrs. Han. But in the case of true parents, that unified vision of Reverend and Mrs. Moon, even true parents has been abandoned, and Holy Mother Han has been replaced, talking about her being the embodiment of the Holy Spirit and mostly talking about her relationship to Jesus. Well, Jesus wasn't able to unite with the Holy Spirit, but now the Holy Spirit's on earth. It's now Holy Mother Han, almost describing it as if it's Jesus and True Mother who are the couple, or the true parents. And so yeah, this exhortation to open your heart and engraft True Mother, it's done so on the basis of also accepting the lies about True Father and and engrafting to the True Mother version that is the apostate, self-idol worshipping uh, version of Hak Jahan, not the True Mother version of Hak Jahan.
Reverend Che, I need to convey to you the deeper secrets of our family such that you not only understand it, but that you can help take responsibility for it. How do we take responsibility for it? We listen, we digest, we understand, and we unite. We become one with Mother in this era. It's not about how well you understand the truth. She's not asking you to understand the truth, Tomiko-san, so you can teach a new lecture, right? She's asking you yourself to play the role of the completion of the providence. Is it not true that we need true parents and children to secure the four-position foundation? You are the children. You have been invited to the table as true children. Said it to me 3 times over 3 different breakfasts. Dr. Jenkins, you were there at least one of those times, I remember. The true children are not those born of my womb. True children are those who are united with me.
Okay, well, first of all, this is absolutely disgusting. So, sure, we've played semantic games in our church before. Sometimes we haven't been comfortable to say to a journalist or a person, Reverend Moon is the Messiah. Yes, he's the Son of God. He's perfect. Because we know what kind of outrageous reaction we'll get. So we played semantic games when a journalist or somebody asks a church leader in a radio interview or something, do you think Reverend Moon is the Messiah? And so then the church leader will say, yes, but so should you be the Messiah, and you should be the Messiah, and you should be the Messiah, just diluting out the very concept. So it's just not offensive at all. And so, yeah, it's true that we should go through the stages of being in Satan's lineage, to being first generation and grafted to true parents' lineage, and second generation born in true parents' lineage, to being We're slave, servant to servant, adopted child. So we have to go through the stages until eventually we are fully perfect and we are fully one with true parents in their lineage and we are God's children. So eventually there is no distinguishing between a true child born in God's direct lineage with never had any lineage with Satan and the first generation who's become perfect. That's the goal. That's our aspiration. But we know it's not the reality. And so so what's happening right now with this disgusting statement is true mother is basically rejecting her own lineage, and she's even worse than that. She's rejecting true parents' lineage and God's lineage, and saying these people are not what much they came from my womb, but they're not true children. The true children are these adopted Satan's children. They're the true children. Well, they will be once they become perfect. But as long as a direct descendant of Sun Myung Moon and Hak Jahan as true parents hasn't fallen and re-engrafted back to Satan's lineage, regardless of whether they have theological agreement with True Mother or all that stuff, as long as they remain pure and they're in True Parents' lineage, they are God's direct descendants, even if they have fallen nature and they haven't yet become perfect. And I don't know which true children have remained pure, but I know Hyungjinim in sanctuary churches, and that's coming from somebody who's not a sanctuary church member and who completely rejects the sanctuary church and Hyungjinim's deciding that True Mother's divorced and they've installed a different True Mother. I reject that, right? Unless I hear it from Father directly, I can't accept it. But I love Hyungjinim. I love him as a sincere person. And I love the fact that he really focuses on True Father and sexual purity. And he has a fantastic relationship with his wonderful wife and his 5 great children. He's really educating them to defend the purity of God's lineage. And so any other true children, direct physical children of true parents who do the same, they are the core, right? They are the direct descendants of God, God's seed on earth. Everybody else is engrafted to that core. All the second generation who marry true children, unfallen true children, they are the next outer layer. And then all the second, third, fourth generation who marry each other and then emotionally engraft to true parents' lineage, they are the next layer. And then you've got the first generation, where like the crusty bark on the tree, right? But we're all part of the tree, but in different levels of nativeness. And so for this idea to come out that father's direct unfallen lineage are they're not true children, but you first and second gen over there who now follow my apostate lies about true father, you're the real true children. That's a cult. And worse than that, it's a direct satanic attack on God's lineage. God's lineage, direct lineage, through the Messiah and through true parents and their children, grandchildren, their lineage. That is the core of God's providence. That's what God's providence has always been about. That's why I say I'm not a member of a church. My religion is God's lineage. And for them to say that those people are not in the lineage just because there's some theological disagreement is really disgusting. And for these leaders to be preaching this, and Reverend Jenkins there nodding away, making all those noises to try to sound deep and sincere, they're just traitors. Sorry to say it, but it's true. It's really disgusting. They spent all those years, all those decades, talking about how loyal they are to True Father and how much they love True Father. The instant Father passes away, they just pivot and will just slander True Father. I'm sorry, but even worse than slandering True Father, because that's just information, actually attacking Father and God's lineage is just vile. I did not expect that, but it's truly something vile. Let's continue and see how bad it gets.
That's a bittersweet statement, but it's the truth.
There's no sweet to it, and it's definitely not true.
Is anybody hearing me here?
Loud and clear.
Yes.
Mother in that moment was asking us to help who? To help Father.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
To help our Father.
of course.
Mother is us. Listen well and write down what I say to you. True mother is asking us to uphold the sanctity and the victory of true parents by stepping in to the loyal, filial, Hyojung realm of true children in attendance to Heavenly Parent through our true parents, in substance right now, through true mother.
He used the wrong word. Let me correct his vocabulary. He should have used the word usurp, not stepping in, because that's what's happening. What did Lucifer, Satan, do? He usurped God's position. He placed himself as God, and he convinced Adam and Eve to engraft to him, so that he could become their dead God originator. So yeah, he's basically telling people not to step in, but rather to usurp true children and God's lineage. Just truly vile stuff.
And to save the Father that you love so much.
And that's how they sweeten the poison, right? They want to give you the poison, they wrap some sweetness around it, appeal to your genuine love for true Father, and appeal to your protective instincts for true Father. The only thing you need to save Father from is these snakes.
And yet we have people who are stuck because they didn't understand.
Stuck.
True mother is asking us
You
to
don't understand?
uphold the sanctity of true parents.
Sure.
I tell you this, and this is my testimony. There is no man in human history that accomplished what true Father accomplished.
That's
I
right.
agree with that.
There is no man who accomplished what he accomplished. He went beyond even that which we stopped Jesus from doing.
You know
We
there's a
killed
but coming,
Jesus
don't you?
to stop him.
Come on, let's get to the but.
Those were the stakes. Those were the stakes that Father gave his life up for, I don't know how many times.
Mhm.
Did he, though, make a mistake? I'm not talking about
Here it comes.
opening up a business with a bad business plan. Was there something fundamental missing in the way Father educated you? There was something missing. And yet, it can be understood because, number one, and this is what Father told me in the Chonshim 1, the word Father told me was responsibility. He couldn't get around it. This is a man, as many men tend to be in relationship with their wives. We can see it. We know our responsibility. We are going for it. Sometimes we don't like to take the time to listen to our wives because we can make 3 minutes on our last attempt. We can do it better. We know what to do.
Okay. Here's a mistake that this clown is making. And I've heard ministers in churches all over the world make the same mistake. They stand there in the pulpit and they say, we sin because we are human. Oh, to be human is to be frail, is to be fallible. We sin because we're human. We don't sin because we're human. We sin because we're fallen. Perfect people are also human, like Jesus our Father, and they don't sin. So no, we don't sin because we're human. So here what he's doing is his only reference point is fallen people, or at least imperfect people with immature fallen nature. And maybe he sees that men have this character flaw where they don't listen to their wives and other things. And he's projecting that onto true Father, who, may I remind you, is perfect. And so Father doesn't have such a character flaw. Father is a deeply parental person, and he knows how to behave as a husband. So for this fraud, I'm sorry, Jim, I'm sorry, David. I love you, my brother, but you're a fraud. For this fraud to be basically accusing Father of being a bad husband, is just disgusting. Anything that anybody says that will lead somebody to have an unengrafting experience with true Father is acting on Satan's behalf.
And Father was standing on a 6,000-year history of male-centered understanding of God, male-centered understanding of the Judeo-Christian realm, male-centered understanding of Jesus Christ himself, male-centered understanding of Christianity, and a male-centered understanding of the role and responsibility of the Lord of the Second Advent.
Well, I guess Father just doesn't understand anything then. He's one of those dumb males, right? He doesn't even understand himself, right? Because he's the Lord of the Second Advent. And so here we have a brutal assault and character assassination of true Father. And I'm not going to stand for it.
Was Father supposed to have wives before meeting Mother? No.
Fuck you.
No. And so we don't need to create any more apologetics or let me speak in vulgar terms, sort of, excited, Mooney, voodoo realm, providential explanations just to kind of pass it.
And there you have it. He thinks the theology of the Unification Church is voodoo. So let me just recap about our faith, what's been taught by all these leaders themselves. They've all been taking a salary for years and getting all the glory, and they've been teaching it. It's in divine principle. Father's been teaching it all his life. This is what God does. He refines lineages until he can produce somebody like Jesus, our true Father, who can manage to become perfect. I don't know when their lineage changes or if they're ever in Satan's lineage, before, in the womb, or after. The important thing is, once they become perfect, they're fully one with God and have nothing to do with Satan, and they can communicate with God directly. So, this person then has a problem that he needs to establish a lineage, but there's no perfect partner. No woman is perfect. So he looks around and he finds, guided by God, he finds a lineage that produces a woman who, although not perfect like the Messiah, she at least has some preferable ancestry, which has got some merit. So she's not just an average person. She's reaching part of the way up. And this woman is born in Satan's lineage, like I was. And she's born with original sin, like I was. She's imperfect. She has fallen nature, and he marries her and educates her and raises her up. And especially through lovemaking and emotional lovemaking and raising children together and being a husband and wife together, that person absorbs elements from God through and from true Father. So we must accelerate their purification and their growth. And the idea is that this person is raised up, and we call this person true mother, but true means perfect. That's what it means. True father means true means perfect. And so we call her true mother. It's an aspirational title that she's growing into, but she isn't actually true. And so the idea is that there are several lineage and possibilities. And so father finds one, and if that doesn't work out, as it was with his first bride, then he doesn't give up. He has to find another one, and the second one didn't work out. And finally, with true mother, he finds somebody, and that managed to work out for the lifetime. And if true mother had passed away when she was a child, tragically, father would have found somebody else who was prepared. And God would have sanctioned that so that they could create true parents. And this is the concept of contingent and necessary. God is a necessary being so I can exist. God doesn't exist, I can't exist. My existence is contingent on God existing. Just as your parents are necessary beings for you to exist, but your parents can exist even if you don't exist. And so it is with true parents. Father is the necessary element in true parents, right? And whichever person he chose to marry, he can form true parents with. So without any particular person, like true mother had Jahan, he could have found somebody else and still formed true parents. However, if father passed away when he was a child or when he was in Hungnam prison, for example, Hak Jahan, who had not yet become true mother yet, could not have formed true parents with anybody else. True Father is the only person. And so father could form true parents with multiple other women, and Hak Jahan could only form true parents with true father and with true father's permission and guidance. So no, it is not true that father shouldn't have married those other prospects to become true parents. That was like God choosing Noah, and then that failed, and then choosing Abraham, and it partially failed. So he chose Isaac and Jacob. So it's always been our theology that that was the case, and it was those women's responsibility to work out as true parents, and the first two didn't. So what he's teaching now is a blatant lie and slander. And essentially, if you think about the implications of it, he's saying that father fell. Father fornicated with women who didn't have God's mandate to be his wife. And then the second time until he met true mother. And this is just a lie, right? And this is why they are converting our movement into a cult, a female deity cult. And as we've learned in this talk, who's even trying to destroy true parents' lineage, God's lineage on earth through children. And fair enough, some of them may have destroyed themselves, but who are we to judge? But the ones who haven't, they are God's central lineage. And they're trying to poison people against it. And now they're slandering Father and calling him a fornicator, right? So these people have turned to evil. I'm sorry to say, they're in a loyalty worship cult. They've been so brainwashed throughout the whole life that just obey, just obey, just have loyalty. So truth doesn't mean anything to them. And they will spread any. And by the way, I hope Mother lives a long, long life and ideally repents and returns to Father in her lifetime. But when True Mother does go to the afterlife, and whichever representative gets to become the new leader of the movement, if that new representative starts spreading new lies and saying something like, "Oh, True Mother was a failed John the Baptist female type figure, but I'm the real savior." What do you think these guys, Demian Dunkley and Jenkins and Tyler Hendricks and all these guys, what do you think they will do? Do you think they'll say, "Well, no, we have to protect True Mother"? That's not true. No, they will fall in line, they will change the theology, and they will just accept that, oh yeah, True Mother's wrong. Just like every generation of Pharaoh destroying the pyramids and building a new pyramid. So yeah, this call is getting more disgusting, and I think we're only halfway through, so we have to bear it. But let's continue.
It all off as something that had to happen. No, it didn't have to happen. And that is all you need to know. So if there's other people that ask you, well, did Father have other relationships and all this and that and the other? The truth is, Mother told me. There's too many stories that I cannot tell you.
So now we're adding insinuations on top of slander.
So there's some that think Mother is saying these things, doing these things to what? Glorify herself?
Yes.
To what? Garner more power? So what? She can have more responsibility and more sleepless nights? Barbara Robertson, a misunderstanding about this point will send humanity on a 1,000-year erroneous course.
No, rejecting your lies will keep us on track. What you are doing is trying to destroy God's providence and God's truth, God's and Father's lineage, and send us on more than a 1,000-year track back into hell. Shame on you.
God told me this 5 years ago. If we misunderstand this
Sure.
point, Mother's not saying, I'm worried about those who are caught up in the H1 camp or the H3 camp. She's making conditions for them also, by the way, desperately.
While at the same time declaring them not her children, even though they came from her womb.
She's worried about those who are among us in our camp and yet still stuck in the completed Testament age. Not because she's angry, because actually she's super excited.
I'm sorry, but I have to say this. I love our true mother. I would give my life for her. And even though I believe she's apostate, I still defend her as a true mother position because for me, being true mother is a relationship, not a position like a president that you can vote out. She has a marriage, lifetime relationship with true father. And that's why, despite all I'm saying, I still hold her as true mother. But uh, yeah, what he's saying here is just it is just gross, and True Mother is basically attacking True Father. I missed a
those
point.
who are among us in our camp and yet still stuck in the completed Testament age. Not because she's angry.
Oh yeah, the point I was going to make is bear in mind everything I've said about how much I love True Mother, but she is always angry. And every time you see her give a speech, her voice is just almost not falsetto, it's vibrato with with suppressed rage. And it's weird sometimes when she gives a speech and then she wants to confirm people hear it. She goes, "Araso, need you understand in Korean? Araso." It always sounds a little bit like a threat, doesn't it? It always sounds a little bit like it's coming from, I'm going to be angry if you don't understand it. So I'm sorry to say that I think that mother has some resentment, understandable resentment. Goodness, have 14 children and see four of your own children pass away, and to live a whole life with the whole world hating your family and have the burden of Satan attacking you while you're trying to support father. So I completely understand why mother might have resentment, but I think she's acting out from that resentment. So don't tell me that she's not angry.
Because actually, she's super excited and looking around a room wondering, how many more of our children do we have at the party? And she knows how cold and how lonely it will be for us to miss. And even worse, as leaders, to misguide others about this point. So I'm speaking to you not as members, but as leaders. Is that okay? Many of you are my elders. Many of you have sacrificed.
That's like the people who work in McDonald's cleaning the tables, get the title floor manager, right? So yeah, that's another trick they use, right? Telling people that, oh, you're leaders, to boost their ego so that they're willing to buy into these lies.
For many years longer than me, but I'm speaking to you as mother's representative nonetheless. Please receive it. And this isn't any judgment. This isn't because I'm judging you. This is because we're almost only 40 days out of D-Day. And we really need to make sure as a nation.
Another comment, there's always a D-Day, isn't it? When I was in Korea, I noticed when I was teaching English, I was there doing journalism for the newspaper, but also teaching English. I noticed that they have so many exams, the teenage kids, and it's like they're always in exam prep period. And then I realized that in the West, they give exams to kids so they can gauge how they're doing, then maybe adjust their education. But in Korea, they noticed that just before an exam, kids study really hard. So they basically just make 3 times more exams throughout the year. So the kids are always in exam prep period. And so our church is very Korean in that sense. It's constantly creating an emergency time or a special period, or there's always a D-Day just ahead, just to motivate people just to zero in and focus.
Our leadership is completely aligned, right, Dr. Jenkins? Completely aligned, right? So I'm going into a little bit deeper on this. Mother made it very clear father was not supposed to marry and all of that. But that's
So what if she made it clear? She's wrong. Sorry, but it's just a fact. And as an adult and a leader, it's your responsibility, Reverend Dunkley, to actually recognize truth from lies, especially as somebody who I think is second gen. I think it's somebody who had the privilege of being born into the lineage that True Father created.
actually not the bigger problem. The biggest problem was that he did not emphasize mother's stature while he was alive.
Come on! True Father spent all his life. He even set up the Women's Federation. He spent all his life bigging True Mother up, raising up True Mother. True Father always used the phrase true parents, even when he's just talking about himself. This is beyond the pale.
That is the single biggest error that is weighing like a lead splinter in True Mother's heart. Your mom is crying in her heart about this because there's nothing more that has damaged the second generation realm than this misunderstanding.
And here we get to it, right? I've noticed that there's a lot of wonderful sisters in our movement who are really buying into this female deity figure because there's a kind of resentment. Personally, I don't care if the Messiah is male or female. I would love the very next person to become perfect on the earth to become female. I'd love to see that aspect. But I only care about who's perfect, not what gender they are. But there's a lot of sisters in our movement who they say things in defense of True Mother's apostasy. All they care about is that, oh, a woman's in charge now. So they say things like, it's her time, as if Father was being the Messiah and being the true Father because he was indulging himself. He was suffering his entire life, right? He didn't have some freedom to do what he wanted. He did what the providence required. It was a suffering and a sacrifice, a sacrificial life. So to say it's her time, as if, well, you got to have a go at being the one everybody glorifies. Now it's time for somebody else to be glorified. And so this whole lie about it is crazy. Nobody was taken away from True Mother. Everybody's been glorifying True Mother all our lives.
And there is no greater threat to the providence than the second generation true children who are completely off campus.
No, Reverend Dunkley, you are the threat to the providence.
This is what Mother has told us. She's not stopping. She's not sitting in a corner crying and waiting. She's flying. She's marching forward. But the strength of her work has to do with how many people right now are living in substantial attendance to her. That's why there's no greater honor than you can have than to end your prayer in attendance to Holy Mother Han.
The snake. What a snake selling snake oil. End your prayer with the phrase true parents. There has never been a more beautiful phrase in existence in any language in all of humanity. True parents, which is what Adam and Eve should have become. Eve's plan wasn't to become Holy Mother Eve. It was to become True Mother Eve. True parents is how we should end our prayers, in my view. So for him to emphasize an individual title for an individual person above the couple that is true parents just shows what an apostate snake he is. I'm sorry.
If anybody has a problem about that, then watch again what I told you in my now 3,000 or 4,000 hit view video, Shall We Pray? Because in that I remind
he's the national leader of the entirety of the United States, and he's proud about having a 3,000 hit video. I'm a nobody. The ones I put out have had 3,000 hits. What does it say about the regard your members have for you and your leadership if only 3,000 people watch your video? I'm sorry.
everyone, guys, you don't even have to pray if you don't want to. It's a blessing that we get to pray, and it's a blessing that we now get to pray in our own names and in attendance to Holy Mother Han. And don't think for a minute that this is somehow discounting true parents.
Well, it is.
You don't even have to pray. But if you are a leader in any respect in this movement, there's no such thing as a leader of this movement if that leader is not aligned 100% with True Mother. No such thing. You need to literally recuse yourself and not in some passive-aggressive way try to take other members with you. You've already seen there's two options. You either lead in Mother's movement or you form your own splinter group. And please let me know the name of your group so I can issue a memo from headquarters about it.
He means slander and excommunication.
I will not be passive. I will stand as an elder brother with love and an embrace, but I need your support. We're not going to let anybody hurt Mother anymore. And this is why I will tell you and pay attention to these words. There's no man that accomplished what True Father did. And it's your mother, our mother, asking us to liberate him. How? By uniting with her. Does Father not deserve our love, Reiko-san?
Father's in heaven. So where are you liberating him from?
Does Father not deserve our love, our loyalty?
Don't you realize if you don't agree that Father was a sinner, if you don't agree that he was mistaken and fallen, then that means you don't love him. Come on, get with the program.
True Mother is asking us to see our Father in his nakedness and not cover him in a cloak.
So after Noah, who was like God to the world, he endured 120 years of ridicule and attack by building the ark. Uh, and then when it turned out he was right all along and the rains came, everybody died and his family was saved. They should have revered him like we revere Father. But instead, Shem and Ham had disdain for him. So when he got drunk and he's in his own private tent having a nap and he's naked, maybe it was a hot day, they walked backwards holding a blanket. Not because they cared about him getting a chill, but because they thought, I don't want to look at his disgusting naked body, right? It was the disdain they had for him which caused them to unengraft from him, which is the disdain Adam and Eve had for God and God's word and not to eat the fruit, which caused them to unengraft. So now he's conflating slandering true father as being as being loving true father, and continuing to believe in true father as being disdainful and holding the blanket and walking backwards. Like any satanic mindset, it's completely upside down.
Threaded by our own ignorant attempt to somehow protect him because we're stuck in a completed testament understanding of who he is, what he said, and what he wants you to do.
So your problem is that you paid attention to who he is and what he said, and that's a bad thing. You've got to stop thinking. You've got to stop being in the completed testament age. You've got to stop basing your views on who Father was and what he said. What's left?
Mother's asking us to see him in his nakedness and embrace true parents.
No. What Mother and these traitor leaders are asking us to do is to see their fabricated version of Father. They paint Father as a sinner, and they're saying, don't see the Father that you saw your entire life and listen to what he said. Instead, look at this distorted, disgusting version of Father that we've drawn and see that version of Father.
And stand with true Father. The irony is, Makiko-san, Akira-san, the irony is that all those people who stand in other camps blowing their trumpets of righteousness, claiming to know Father better, love Father more, and protect Father's legacy, are the ones who are keeping him in prison. They are the very ones who are cloaking him with the fabric threaded by their own ignorant understanding. And what happens when they do?
No, they're the ones who are seeing Father as Father saw himself and described himself for his entire life. You guys are the ones who are making new, disgusting costumes for Father to beclown him.
That. And not only this, but they cast out the mother in their father's name.
All right, fair enough. Some of that is true. Not with me, as I've said. I can distinguish between true mother, her relationship to true father. Until I hear differently from Father himself when I die, that maintains. So I won't cast out true mother. I won't deny true mother as being true mother. But I will be honest and say that she's apostate. She's turned against God and her own lineage and true father. But yes, I do believe that Sanctuary Church, for example, make the mistake of casting out true mother. True mother.
This is not a righteous child. This is not a true child, no matter what name they have on their birth certificate.
Again, fuck you, Damien. they are righteous. Young Janim is righteous. He's just, in my view, theologically mistaken, which is understandable. Anybody can make a theological mistake. Mother's making a theological mistake, but I still love her for that. I love her all the more. I want her to come back. But yeah, you're like a cuckoo, Damien. You know, a cuckoo is a different bird is born into the egg, into the nest. And then when the cuckoo hatches, what does it do? It pushes all the native eggs out of the nest. So you were rescued from Satan's lineage by your parents being engrafted to true parents in God's lineage. You were born with the privilege of no original sin, of being in God's direct lineage as an adopted son. And now here you are, you repay that by slandering God's direct lineage and true father's direct unfallen lineage and saying they're not true children. Yeah, I'm generally against swearing, but there comes a time, very rarely, when you just have to be as blunt as possible. Fuck you.
This is not a member
Disgusting.
of the movement. This is a lost
Yes.
child whom we're all praying for. But
Sure
your
you are.
prayers, our prayers will be weak if we are not united with Mother. I made these 10 lectures not because it's just something that you should go through quickly so that you can participate.
I'll
in
be
the
going
Holy
through them all
Line.
right.
I was holding back for months just to release all of this online. And
Yeah, I was already planning to go through them and do this reaction, but I got sent this video and decided to do this one first. But yeah, I'll be going through them.
I wish I put it on earlier. And we've been trying to do all manner of things. We have the lectures from Korea, but it's difficult to translate them into English, right? In the same heart. And Reverend Che is leading well through the Korean churches, and step by step, the members are understanding. But how do I convey this to a Western audience? As a true son, I'm taking responsibility, and I'm telling you,
You're not a true
these 10
son, you're a creature.
lectures now form the basis of our official education for the American movement. You can use it for yourself, you use it for your children, you can use it for your guests, and we will continue to develop and improve, but this is the bedrock right now.
Yeah, let's see how
And I
that
will
goes.
continue to add to it and improve it, but this is my verbal announcement. This is not just something you've got to go through quickly to participate.
Oh no, take your time.
This is the education right now for the American movement. And when you sign up for it, as you know, you have all these 10 lectures, and I don't go in hard and heavy like I am in this session. You are leadership. I'm trying to convey in a way, honestly, it's not easy to do, but for new members, old members, disgruntled members alike. I'm just trying to invite people to Mother's table.
You are the disgruntled one.
Guys, with regard to teaching True Mother's essence, let me tell you this, and I'll conclude soon. I learn a lot from different people, Alexa, but I haven't yet met someone. To tell you the truth, sometimes I heard some things from the true grandchildren that really helped me.
So how does that work? You cut the branch off the tree, but you're saying the branch of the branch is still a branch of the tree. So if true children are not true children, how are true grandchildren true grandchildren?
But I have not yet met a leader who can bring me into a deeper, essential understanding of who True Mother is. What does that mean? It means I haven't yet met anyone among any of you, anybody, anywhere in the world. I have not yet heard anything or met anyone, although there's things that people say that give new insights. I'm not talking about that. I have not yet met anyone that has a better understanding than me. And I'm really excited to meet them. Don't worry. So that
Is he quoting a true grandchild, or is he I think he's quoting himself. So he's saying, Reverend Dunkley is saying, he's never met any leader who has a better understanding than himself. Okay,
That's why I'm stepping up to say, I will teach it as this, and this will be our official education. Is everybody okay with that?
that's very sacrificial of you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, that's
yeah.
right.
Okay. So the cool thing is, it's not just about,
You are the president.
I want the local leaders. I want the leaders to use
All
this.
your base now belong to us.
Actually, I'm not even going to give everybody the PowerPoint yet because I want them to hear it from me first. And then I think we should start, Denthu, we need to start raising up, 100 next generation lecturers. And we can have our senior lecturers teach them and guide them. But everybody should be teaching ultimately from their own heart. But we're going to start with this, and as we continue to develop it, and we're also going to be teaching on the Korean epic. And I will take responsibility to make sure that what we teach in America, Dr. Jenkins, makes sense for Americans first. Otherwise, what are we going to do, right? So not only do you get these lessons, but you get invited into this community. If some of you of the boomer generation are struggling to figure this out, please ask for help. It is an application, whether iPhone or Android. You can download an application on your phone. It's kind of more comfortable in the web application format. So keep the link, remember your password. And especially as leaders, if you're not in there, I need your help. I need your help to answer questions from the members. Look at this. You start harm. I will protect this community with anybody that tries to get in there and just preach a different message. They will be given the backdoor welcome.
So I guess the Ron part of Champuma Ron, which Ron means discourse, is only discourse if you agree with them.
You can join the community. You can introduce yourself. I don't know how many we have, 300 plus members on here now. About those who are.
Okay, that's the end of that. That's the end of that video. And so there we have it. Basically, they're all working for Satan. They're all, especially how shameful. Reverend Jenkins, what, 50 years serving the Messiah? 50 years of him preaching that true Father is perfect and sinless, and that true Father finds a woman in Satan's lineage with original sin and fallen nature who was imperfect and raises her up. 50 years of him preaching that and feeding off the church tit, getting a salary, getting regard and respect with his genteel voice and his sweet looking nature and just guiding members. 50 years of that. And as soon as Father passes away, drops it like that. And teaches, oh, you know what? Father was actually a sinner. He slept with a bunch of women before he met True Mother and tried to marry them instead, and he shouldn't have done that. And he was a male chauvinist in his marriage, and that it's actually True Father's lineage, True Father's children are not true children. These other randos are. Shame on you, Reverend Jenkins. What a way to waste your entire life. There's a verse in the Bible which I've always liked. It's a pretty scary one. It says, even though you do righteousness all your life, if you turn to evil at the end, all the good things you've done will be for nothing. And that's what these people are doing. They're spending their entire lives being good servants of true Father to the best of their abilities. And then at this last decade of their life, for some of them, they're just wholly embracing absolute lies. And actually, it's bad enough that they're slandering true Father and attacking true Father and causing people to unengraft from true Father. But as I've always said, really the Messiah, you could say it's just the person. Technically, yes, that it is. But the Messiah is true parents, but more than that, the Messiah is God's lineage. It's the lineage which is the Messiah. That's why I call it the lineage of salvation. We can't all really make a personal, really deep relationship with just two people. There's just too many. So as their lineage expands, right? God's direct lineage expands in competition to Satan's lineage. There's more opportunity for us to have a direct personal relationship with people in that lineage. And the core of that lineage is God's children and grandchildren and great grandchildren. So true parents, unfallen children, what we call true children, even though like true mother, they're also not actually true. It's an aspirational title they're growing into. So those are the core of God's lineage. Without them, there is no real God's lineage. Um, and so for these people to now go on the attack against that, just because those people, those true children, are not necessarily obeying true mother and falling in line with her lies about true father, it's just disgusting. I don't do that with true mother. I see her being apostate and telling lies about true father and teaching wrong theology, but I see the relationship. She, true mother herself, is the first generation who is engrafted to God's lineage by her marriage to true father. But at the same time, she is the creator of that lineage. And so, even though she's saying evil things and even though she's turning against God, I still see that relationship. And that's what saves us, is a relationship. And that's what undid us with Adam and Eve, is a relationship they made with each other through sin and with Satan. And so, but they're not extending that to true children. Oh, true children, you disagreed with true mother or something, so you're no longer true children. But just because you're from true mother's womb, you're not God's lineage. Only these lick spittles who obey true mother and obey the power structure are. But this is really gross stuff. I can warn you and guarantee you it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And once they're completely, well, they won't because we won't let them, but once they're completely destroyed Father's legacy and set up their own cult, because it has no moral compass and it's not connected to God, it will get more and more satanic and it will start introducing more and more evil practices. And but there is there is nothing more. You know the verse in the Bible that Jesus said is every sin you do can be forgiven, but if you blaspheme against the Holy Spirit, these clowns are utilizing that line. But I'm not sure anybody really understands what that means, blaspheme against the Holy Spirit. But I'll tell you something, blaspheming and attacking and slandering and assaulting God's actual lineage, the lineage he tried to and failed to establish with Adam and Eve, but he successfully, and tried to and failed to establish with Jesus, and successfully established with a true father. It's a holy lineage, even though the people in it are not perfect and they're struggling, right? I always said that we are engrafted to that lineage. So we are both branches of that lineage and we are the gardeners in the garden. So when we see people in that lineage, whether it's true mother or young humanity stumble in some way, theologically or other ways, we don't just hate them for it. We give them more love and more nurturing. We're gardeners. We tend the garden, right? And hope that they can come back to the right way. And by doing that, we're also saving ourselves. We're like people. God's lineage is like a boat, and we're like people on the boat. And yeah, it might spring leaks sometime and start to sink, but we repair the leaks, and that saves us too, because without the boat, there is no us. And so slandering and attacking and undermining God's lineage is the worst thing you can do, in my view, because the consequences of that are the worst. I once got in trouble about 10, 12 years ago. I was in Lancaster Gate Church in London. I got voted onto the church council. I didn't get that many votes, but a lot of second gen voted me on. And while I was on the council, there was a guy who was the head of the church council, and he's kind of a yes man. And I noticed the church in the UK sent out this email with this leaflet, and it was basically a leaflet just slandering Kyungjin, just when about the split with True Mother was happening. And all right, I can recognize they could have put out an announcement saying, look, we've got these theological differences, but instead it was more personal and it was really like marginalizing him. And I could see it clearly even then, over 10 years ago, what these leaders, these first generation clerics and leaders in Korea, they were assassinating true true children in favor of that witch in Chongpyong and True Mother. And so I reposted it on my Facebook and I just wrote, in case you run out of toilet paper and you need something to wipe your ass with. And this guy was so enraged. He tried to get me kicked out of the building and kicked out of the church council. He just couldn't understand because in his view, the morality is just a hierarchy, obeying power. But that's not vertical. A hierarchical structure is not a vertical structure, it's a horizontal structure, person to person to person. Vertical is when you obey truth and God. And so, even though I disagree theologically with Hyunjin, my alliance, my support of him is supporting God's lineage. And so, I won't stand by while people assault God's lineage. In a way, it's even worse than just slandering Father, because his reputation can recover from that. But Satan's got them to work on the tree, the family tree God created to save the world. And so, yeah, this is really shocking and disgusting stuff I'm hearing in this talk. And this is just the preliminary stuff. This is the warm-up act. This is what they've been preparing people for, with weird, slippery semantic concepts like, oh, you should be open-minded. After all, isn't being open-minded a good thing? Don't be closed-minded. You should be open to new truths. But communists could say that. Does that mean they should accept communism just because it's good to be open-minded? So they're still in the warm-up phase for people, and then they're going to brainwash people with these slippery concepts, and then eventually they're just going to have people create this fake illusion, a bit like the Catholics, where they just sideline Jesus and just worship Mary, who's a fallen person. And so they're going to turn our whole movement into a female deity clan, and True Father's going to get slandered more and more and more until people just hate him. And now they're even telling people to basically hate Father's lineage. So it's gross stuff, and I'm not blackpilled by it, because let them keep all the money, all the billions. Let them keep the power structure. Let them keep all the buildings and continue building their ridiculous temples in Korea. Just building giant buildings for its own sake. Let them do all that, as long as there's a core of us who stick to our original faith. We might have different points of view and set up different groups or different ministries or orders within our faith. As long as there is a core of us that refuse to slander true Father and God's lineage, we remember divine principle, we remember Father's speeches, we remember who God is, who true Father is, and God. Even if we're weak, we don't have the money, we don't have the structure, the organization, there's enough of us. God can work with that. But we can preserve God's legacy and God's providence. And that's why I always say, these people, they make you feel like you're so isolated. You're the only one that doesn't agree with these lies. But we're all together. We've got all the organization. And people really feel lost. And they also feel tempted. And I've heard this from people. They feel tempted to go along with it just because they don't want to be alone. They want to feel some community. But remember this: one plus God is always a majority. Let me say it again. One plus God is always a majority. Doesn't matter how many people are against God and truth on that side, even if there's just one person and you're on God's side, you're always in the majority, right? And so basically, uh, I'll do some more commentary on these things, because I think it's important that these things get exposed line by line by line. And it's important. I think I have a bit of a talent for for sniffing out this, not just saying that's wrong, but showing the logic of how they're twisting truth and how they're telling lies and how they're manipulating. And so that's what I'll do. I'll try to be respectful to the people. And Reverend Dunkley, if you want to come on and do a video call with me, right? I know I've been hard on you in this video, but you want to come on? We'll hash it out. We'll discuss it. But I'm guessing you won't, because I think you're a coward, and I think you know that your lies can easily be exposed, and so but the invitation's open to you, Reverend Jenkins, anybody who wants to do a call. And as you know, you were proud that your video got 3,000 hits. Well, so did some of mine. So let's see uh, who's who's got the better case. I'm willing to be a defendant for God and true Father. You're obviously taking the prosecutor role. So yeah, let's see how the case goes. So cheer up and don't be blackpilled. And yeah, we can be sad that we're losing our entire movement to these, basically, sorry to say it, but satanic cultists who are working to destroy God's providence. But they will fail. I have zero doubt that they will fail. And so it's just a matter of how many people can we save from this? How many people can reach out and give give God's side of the argument against these liars, these slanderers who hate true Father. And so everyone we save, everyone we give a better understanding to, who helps us shore up their faith in true Father and true Father's lineage, everyone is worthy. So even if you have to spend your entire life defending true Father, we only save one, that will be worth it. But we can save a lot. And this group of people will just they'll just fade away in time because they have nothing, and God's definitely not with them. They're just people who worship power. And the sad thing is they don't even worship true mother. They worship true mother's power. So as soon as she passes away, as I've said, some other person steps in and then changes the theology. They'll just go along with that. They'll drop true mother like that. If they'll do it to sorry, if they'll drop true father just like that, as great and perfect and wonderful as he is, can you imagine how quickly they'll drop true mother as long as there's no salary or power or position in it for them? No, they have no conviction. We do. That's why I called my ministry Original True Parents Family Ministry, because my view hasn't changed since April 27th, 1984, when I first met our movement and learned about divine principle and true Father. It was true then, it's true now, and it will be true for all eternity. So, yep, signing off, and jump into the comments. Send the group, the Facebook group, to all your friends, the Original True Parents Family Ministry group, and or just type their Facebook name in to invite them, and let's have a chat in the comments about this. And thank you for watching.